Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, they never support me, or they never listen to me, they never want to see me succeed? If you have, then maybe it's time you found a different day. You've probably already heard all the usual sayings about the value of the company you keep. My personal favorite is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's a similar one that says, if you show me your friends, I will show you your future. You get the drift. If you want to live freely, then you gotta surround yourself with people who lift you up. But quoting cliches about keeping good company, that's the easy part. The hard part is actually living it. Why do we find it so difficult to consistently surround ourselves with the right kinds of people? I've got several theories, but here's one of them. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another live composing. This is your host. I feel kind of cheesy saying that, but this is your host, Stephen Melin, music composer, and I'm excited that you're here. Let's dive into part 2 of an episode we are scoring for Revolution of One, which is a new series by FEE, the Foundation of Economic Education. We did this yesterday where we worked on the first section, that A section, and it seems like you guys had a pretty good time with that one, so I thought we'd jump on, get another little chunk done today. Maybe we'll get a lot done. Maybe we'll get the whole thing done. Not sure yet. But over the next 45 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, we're going to be tackling just another section. So as always, in the live chat here on YouTube, let me know, first of all, when you're here, give me a high five. I want to know who's here. And then second, I want to know, what are your questions about film scoring? I've been doing this a long time, and sometimes I don't think about, the things I don't know and maybe the things I can be teaching you along the way. So if you have questions about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, I'd love to help you guys out. That's why we're here, right? Talk about film music today. So this is a 5-minute track, or it will be a 5-minute track. It's currently we're timing this to the video. So all I did was import into Cubase the video with the video audio. So we're hanging around somewhere on this 5-minute mark. It helps a lot whenever you're in your DAW to use your time code. And it's kind of small for you guys. In fact, you can't even see it yet. Whoopsies. There it is. So in my Cubase session, it's just hanging out down there at the bottom. I don't like it to be super huge. Excuse me. Some people like it when they're using Pro Tools or something, they'll have the giant counter up here up top, and it's kind of obnoxious. So I just like to have it hovering down at the bottom. But that helps me time out things. My pacing, because that's a really big thing. You should always be pacing your art, your music to the visuals the best you can. So here we are. We're going to be jumping into the B section. But first, I got to let you guys know of a little update. Because part of these live streams is sometimes I don't get to update you guys on everything. So much is happening, and I'm juggling so many things that I don't get to, catch you guys up on what the heck is going on with my business and my life. So 2 very important things. Number 1, we are expecting a baby any day now. My wife, Natalie, is super pregnant, and due date's not till next week. A lot of you guys have been asking about that, and I appreciate that. It's very kind. Baby boy, and we're so excited about that. So literally any day now. So if I start just vanishing off the face of the earth for a couple weeks, that's why. But another aspect to that is a lot of you guys have been following me for years here on YouTube, and very positive news is, as part of my rebranding and part of the end of 2020, I tried doing multiple YouTube channels. It failed miserably because it was segmenting my audience, and that's not very fun. That's not good for you guys. So here we are, we're back. We're going to be just focusing on YouTube. But moving forward, I ended up deleting a lot of the older videos. And so you'll notice over the next month or 2, there's going to be a lot of videos coming. There'll be one every day. And they're all re-uploaded videos from 2017, 18, and 19. And the purpose behind that is they've been edited a little bit just to kind of repurpose them and to make, if they're still valuable for you guys, I want them to be up here in the archives. But I've kind of had to settle in my soul that as much as I want to go back and I want to like edit the junk out of all these old videos and, take out all the references to the year and update the information, it's just kind of it's a lost cause. That is expensive, it's time consuming, and it's just a waste of time, to be honest, because it's pretty obvious when you check the quality of my current and upcoming videos versus the old stuff. It's a huge quality difference. And you can tell, but the heart behind that is that you guys can still get a lot of good value out of those older videos, and I hope that that's helpful for you guys. Anyway, that's kind of the first thing. The second thing I wanted to make you guys aware of is moving forward, the podcast is no more. The podcast is dead. So I tried that out for a year. It was called the Stephen Melin Audio Experience. It did relatively well. But I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. I don't always share behind the scenes, but I think live streams are a great opportunity for that. I'm going to let you in on some stats here. The last year, it's really 2 years. So the last 2 years of having a podcast, it's only been like viewed like 3,000 times. That's really, really bad. That's really poor for a podcast. That means, and I had like 100 episodes. So that means like 30 people were watching or listening to each episode. And I'm going to be totally honest that these episodes were just kind of the audio exports of my videos. And so they were missing some of the visual components. It's hard to review a sample library without seeing it. It's hard to write a piece of music without, seeing what I'm doing. So it just doesn't make any sense. So long story short, that was like 3,000 views compared to YouTube is 1 million views. So no comparison, right? It doesn't make any sense. The audience has spoken that you guys like my video content. And so this year, 2020, I'm going to double down. I'm going to be, as I continue, working with new team members, with my audio team and video team, moving forward, you're just about to blow your face off with hopefully better quality around, but 100% focused here on YouTube. I tried Twitch for a little bit. I've tried like social media videos and whatever, but I'm just gonna 100%, let's do YouTube, let's do it right. And I hope that makes a difference for you guys, and hope you can feel that difference. You might not see it immediately because there's a lot of behind the scenes things that I'm working on with art redesign and kind of get a clear branding across the board. But moving forward, I hope that you guys really enjoy that. And I've definitely heard from a lot of you guys that you like these live composing videos. And that means a lot to me every time you guys give me feedback. So there we go. There's all the mushy gushy stuff. Welcome, Cody, Peter, several others. Who else is here? Let me know. Cody has a question. How does one go about getting video game film scoring gigs? Peter says he has a video or two about reaching out to people on Twitter. It's true. You should check it out. Go backwards like a few videos. And Peter, if you'll be a pal, Peter's one of my moderators here on YouTube Live. If you be a pal, if you just put a little link there in the description, linking to the video that I know I think that's helpful. That stuff works. I know it feels robotic and inhuman to cold message people and send emails, but if you do it right, if you do it with heart and you do it with some grace and tact, you can actually get real work. And it's a very real way of getting work. Many of my recent soundtracks have been a result of that. So please take that advice. I love giving advice if you ask for it. I will never give you advice if you don't ask for it. So you asked for it. So you can't hold me accountable. You can't say it didn't work unless you've tried it the way that I tell you to do it. But anyway, Blue Moon, will COPPA affect channels like these? Is that the child protection thingy? YouTube's been making a big deal about that lately. Will it affect my channel? No. Will it affect you as a user? No. Will my channel show up? Will my videos show up on YouTube Kids? No, it can't. My videos don't violate anything, but I had to choose as a creator whether my videos are for kids or not for kids. And They've just made new rules that like you have to be a kid channel or you have to be not at all. And so I'm just gonna not at all because there's no way I can protect that forever.
Here's one.
Anyway, let's do this thing. So here we are. We're gonna jump into the B section.
Here's one. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the
Cool. So we spent all the time yesterday talking about this A section where it just kind of states a theme. We're just kind of hovering on these two chords in the piano. I think we're in G sharp minor to E major. So that means that's a minor 6 chord to a major 4 chord because we're technically in the key of B. Not that I'll ever go to B, but 6 4 6 4. We're gonna keep going with that. So everything has been low up to this point. So I want to try doing a higher piano now. So one thing I've learned, having worked in the music industry for a gajillion years now, it's been like 16 years, I think, something like that. I've been playing piano since I was 7, so that's an even longer time. But I used to think the more notes you play, the better it is, but that's totally false. What I've learned is the higher range you go, the less thick your chords should be. And I think that's also true of the low end, right? So if you're playing a piano, if you play in the middle of the piano, you should play like 6 notes, 4 at the least. 4-note chords to 6 notes, maybe even 8-note chords, very thick chords, because it can handle it in the sonic spectrum. But as soon as you go really high, if we start putting like, you know, that's a 5-note chord, it's too many notes. It doesn't work. They clash. If you go too low and do the same thing, that doesn't work. It's just mud, right? Totally mud. So what I like to do is I'll choose my chord. So in my head, I wanted to do a G sharp minor. So if I was an octave lower, I would have done G sharp, B, D sharp, G sharp, B. That's a 5-note chord, which sounds fantastic in the mid-range of a piano because sonically it works. Not to go into all the science of it, but if you go an octave higher up here, it no longer works to have 5-note chords. You need 3-note chords. If you go 1 octave higher, you need 2-note chords. And the person I learned that from of all composers is Hans Zimmer. I've never met that guy personally, but having studied his music for a decade now, and why people like it and why producers like it so much, it's the simplicity. It's the higher you go or the lower you go, he thins out his orchestra or his piano. So that's a secret tip. Please take that to the bank. That is good advice. So in this example, I'm going to choose 3 notes now. So I'm going to choose the most important notes of the chord, which is the 1 of the chord, the 5 of the chord, and the 3rd of the chord. But we're going to spread it out. So that is an orchestration technique. You can do this on piano or any of your instruments. This works on strings, horns, whatever. It's orchestration 101 is thin up high and down low. So here we go. I'm going to keep the same chord. But you hear how it's not sad. The emotion is more like contemplative. Right? Isn't that cool? It's so simple, but that's the point. Here we go.
Here's one. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids. Now, I define the cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage.
Now let's go down.
Seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status. These are the kind of people who, if you can get them to talk to you, if you can get them to spend time with you, then everybody else will see you hanging out with them and they will think you're cool too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us. And even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define.
Cool. So what did I do there? I chose to take the harmony a slightly different direction. It's actually the opposite of hopeful. My chords are moving downwards, but the final chord I chose was a major chord, which is a D flat major chord. So what I've done there is I've borrowed a chord to create, it's kind of like a I don't know, it's subconscious decision that he's talking about. And you know, the whole film, this whole episode is about something uplifting, right? It's about how we can change, but he's not there yet. We're only on the second minute of this thing, or the minute and a half, looking at my time code. So my chords can't be overtly dark or happy, so I'm gonna mix them. And that's where music theory comes into play, is what techniques can we use to try to take, what were we in, G sharp minor? Because I was doing the minor 6 to the major 4. So where can I go from there? I can go down to a minor 3. But if we want to be hopeful without reusing a chord, we go to the major and just kind of sit there for a minute. And then we can do... Like, there's a lot of ways we can revoice with inversions to kind of hover, create a little cycle there. And I think that'll feel different enough. I haven't changed keys or anything. I've just used different chords in the scale, which help continue the cycle. And hey, fun fact for any of my YouTube live streamers out there, if there's a few of you, YouTube just came up with a new feature, AKA they copied Twitch, called highlight videos. I don't know if you as viewers can do it. That's a Twitch thing that when you're watching a Twitch stream, you can actually highlight moments, and there's like a separate folder that they go into. I don't think that's accessible yet for viewers and watchers, but it is accessible to me, which is kind of cool. So I can actually start chopping up some of my live streams. I hope that it becomes available to you guys, because that's not something I want to do, but it is cool when the users do it. Like if you like a 30-second clip from this hour stream.
Consistently surround ourselves with the right kinds of people. I've got several theories, but here's one of them. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids. Now, I define the cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage who seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status.
Okay, I like that we're kind of moving octaves. Don't let my voice sing.
The greatest amount of social status. These are the kind of people who, if you can get them to talk to you, if you can...
I like that moving down, but it moves to that major chord. I'm gonna mute him for a minute while we're working on orchestration so I can hear better. So the only challenge with being sparse like this is you still need some motion, otherwise it feels like all the energy stopped. And I promise that if I turned it in like that, I would get a note from the producer saying, where'd all the energy go? And so the secret here is we need energy, but we don't need strings, because strings have like intense energy. Right, that's not appropriate yet. We just came out of that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use this arpeggiator. So delay is a fantastic way to add motion without adding notes. Like that, it's just enough. Just eighth notes. Move down. We're going down. Notice I kept my ostinato, even though the chords changed. Helps connect everything. Let's keep going. And then that's the C section. Isn't that lovely how that works? So for my music theory people, I like to always give shout outs to my music theory people because there's not a lot of people care or know a lot about music theory. So one of my goals here is, as we talk about the production of music and the composition of music, hopefully you'll learn something from the way that I use music theory. Music theory is not dead, it's not lost, it's a tool. It helps us make decisions. So my decision just now was I treated the D flat major chord, which was that final major chord of that progression. So to recap, we did a 6 chord, which is G sharp minor. We did E major, which is a 4 chord. I did a minor 3, D sharp minor, very, very useful in trailer type music. And then I went down to a D flat major, which is a borrowed chord. So this chord by itself, you could just call it a borrowed chord, but what I did by keeping the ostinato, what did we do? We actually turned this into a dominant 7 chord. You could call it a sharp 9 if you want to get into the jazz of it, but ignoring that note. So what we've effectively done is we've taken a borrowed chord, turned it to a dominant 7 chord, which those of you who know music theory, a 5 chord always goes to a 1 chord. So what we've done is it's an aural optical illusion. This is not a dominant at all. What is a D? Okay, it's not a D flat major, it's a C sharp major. What if a C sharp major is a dominant, what does it go to? It goes back to a G sharp minor. Isn't that cool? But really, we're not in G sharp minor, are we? We're in the key of B. So what I've done is I've given you a fake dominant, which makes us go back to the 1 chord. So it's a false 1 chord. So it's just a very useful way to modulate and to get away with it. And it allows you to keep ostinatos moving. Because if I were to change the ostinato notes, you'd lose it would distract the audience instead of, you don't want your music to be too interesting. I know it sounds weird, but you don't want it to distract. Oh yeah, get that gravity in there. So nice. Put this, once we go lower, I'll put it in. Just beefs it up. Especially here. We'll add strings in a second. Oops. Oh, I didn't know that I did that. Let's keep what we have, but we'll redo that last part. I know I repeated it. Try not to, when you're doing pads, try not to put too many octaves in it. It's not this, you can't play a pad the same way that you play piano. So on a piano, I would probably use an octave in my left hand. But with a pad that has a lot of frequency space, just keep it simple. Do a 4-note or 3-note chord. Don't overdo it. Peter makes a funny point. He's saying that, he said, I try to make my stuff juiced with modulations and stuff. Thus, I guess why underscoring feels like a dark art to me. Yeah, I mean, scoring is its own animal because ultimately when you score something, the picture, the film is the melody, not your music. Video games are quite the opposite, where you need a good melody. You need something that's strong and evocative. It's very attention grabbing. If someone notices an underscore, then you've done it wrong. which is one of the reasons that Christian Hinson of Spitfire Audio, if you've watched his videos, fantastic channel, he hates when film composers listen to film music, because film music is quite boring. There's not much going on. Even the best of the best, it's not the most interesting music in the world to listen to. It's usually very production oriented versus video game music or storytelling music in the case of audio dramas and podcasts. It's just different. Okay, pretty good so far. It's not interesting. It will be. There we go. That's the idea that I'm going for here. So we're going to build out the strings. You can't give everything at once. Gotta work this out in my head. So the reason I'm not filling in that mid ground here, this middle octave, which would be the cello and low violas, there's no point. It's being taken up by the piano, so let's not crowd that space. But I kind of like this viola, this violin to viola range, right? And that way my left hand, I can do cello and bass, low octaves. I think it's just a better sound. Whoops. That's an easy fix. Let's quantize all of those as 16ths. Let's go to the bar in question, which is this part. It all works. I think there was one missing. There it is. So quick fix to that. Just copy the bar before it. Let's get rid of the messed up bar, and then we'll just go down. I think it was a, I don't even know what pitch it's supposed to be. Oh, gross. Excuse me. Just checking my notes. Yeah, you gotta fix that. Now, I'm not saying we have to have these driving strings at all times, but the whole point is we're trying to create energy. That's a fantastic way to do it without being too much in your face. So here it is with vocal, the VO.
When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids. Now, I define the cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage who seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status. These are the kind of people who, if you can get them to talk to you, if you can get them to spend time with you, then everybody else will see you hanging out with them and they will think you're cool too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that
Try to get some synth bass in there.
too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means.
Cool. It's good spacing too with the VO. So we just take that bit of bass. It wasn't perfect, but let me just quantize that. Probably quarter notes is fine.
To try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define.
Some horns in there because he's starting to get inspirational now.
But we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means.
And for the record, once upon a time I composed the logo, like the main theme for Fee. And so in all of their productions, I try to sneak in either a trumpet or a horn because there's a fanfare that I wrote for them. And so it kind of has this heroic sports rock feel. And so I like to kind of sneak that in there where I can. Like inspirational moments. That kind of thing.
To succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once.
Perfect. That actually is an even better transition into the C section because that's where he literally, boom, changes subject. If we extend that bar by one, it allows me to have that little horn moment, which means I can do something percussion-wise. So let's get these guys back into the game. So anytime you change section, we're going to do the big sub kit. Talked about that at the last stream. Go check those out, how I made those.
Many of us have been conditioned to look around.
And this symbol, because it's MIDI, it's going to keep doing that. What I need to do is turn this into a 1, 2, 3, 4 block MIDI region. I'm going to start, every time we change sections, I'm going to create a symbol. And notice it should start 2 bars before the next section. So there it is right there. So now it's just an automatic way to create transition material for each of my sections. So theoretically, I could go ahead and do this, and I will, where I could just copy and paste and like drag. Let's probably start right here. For my D section, I'm going to just kind of click and drag to where I now have these markers, these musical markers. It's a symbol rise to a bass, a sub bass hit. It's an excellent way to transition to the next. And now that I'm reading the comments, Peter says, also a fun fact about Hans Zimmer in his online masterclass, he admits to overusing D minor a lot in case he wants to extend the double basses. That's fantastic. I love that. For the exact same reason, I actually usually write darker pieces in E minor or C minor, because that's the lowest end of the double basses as well. And tubas and contrabassoon and stuff, they all kind of hover around that low C area.
The cool kids to accept us, and
so here's how this transition is going to work. Let's listen to it in context.
And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, I don't know.
It kind of poses a question. So film scoring is not, it's not a dark art. It may feel like one, but what you're doing is you're trying to find the moments in the picture where a question is asked or something changes. That's what markers are for. It helps you establish, here's where something changes. So let's create 1 bar or 2 bars of transition material. In my opinion, a film composer is only as good as their transitions. And that's kind of what defines you, is what is your signature sound for transitions.
And that brings us to a very important,
because it's the glue between sections that matters the most, because that's the part, those are the musical moments that the audience actually hears. Because you shouldn't be really listening to music while he's talking. It's when he pauses, it's when he changes subjects, or the scenery changes, the visuals change, B-roll comes in. That's when, oh, there's a cool horn thing going on.
About how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once.
Now I will, for the sake of consistency, I'm going to keep this ARP hanging out. How can I do this? I'm just going to do it twice. Like this. Do the same thing with my strings. So what I'm doing is I'm just extending that D, whatever we're calling it, the C sharp major chord by 1 bar. Just copy and paste. The only danger is when you have pads. You then need to actually extend the original MIDI data. You can't copy and paste it, or else you'll get stuck.
But we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, I don't...
Cool. What am I missing here? Oh, the bass. Bass needs to extend. Just anything that was already there, we need to extend it into the next marker.
That
piano included. Not a huge deal, but just a small editing thing. Let's get him. Save your music. So for those who don't know about my studio setup, I have a backup and I have 4 drives. I don't lose my work.
And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, I don't know if I'm cool or not.
That's funny. That'll be fun to score. What's missing from this section? Something's missing. Let me go back to the between the A and the B sections.
I've got several theories, but here's one of them. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids. Now, I define the cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage who seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status.
I think that could use a symbol. And even a subkit, because we're adding to the intensity. Sounds like this.
The cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage who seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status. These are the kind of people who, if you can get them to talk to you, if If you can get them to spend time with you, then everybody else will see you hanging out with them and they will think you're cool too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be.
I like that build, so it makes sense now that we've added here. I love that I'm pointing at my screen right now, like you can see where I'm pointing. That's what a mouse is for. Okay, right here. So this section is bar 28. You notice I added more depth.
Greatest amount of social status.
And so I think we need to get to the next point, the next depth moment, and this time let's add the euphoniums. Now for this score, for all these episodes, I've chosen to use the euphoniums because they're British horns that are much warmer and richer. This is the Albion 2. So I think one of the best parts about Spitfire libraries is they're British and they generally have softer sounds. And it's just a nice mix to some of the more American and like heavy hitting Hollywood type sounds. So it's just a horn mixed with euphonium. It's a very warm sound. So let me get that in. And then Peter, I know you have some questions in the chat. I'll get to you.
The cool too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool.
So I want the third of the chord, which is the B. No, it's not. The G sharp to hang. So I'm just making sure that that pitch is on the top. It's the voice that stands out the most.
2.
I learned that in piano of all things. That's the way that I think these days. When I got my piano performance degree, oh my gosh, I had like 2 lessons a week, and I was practicing 6 hours a day, practicing classical music. And one of the top conversations we always had in lessons was voice that note louder. Which note's the melody, which is the harmony, which is the third, which is the fifth. I just got so used to, all right, with my pinky, I'm going to play that one a little bit louder than the rest. So that's just forced my ear into learning this junk. But it's so useful in moments like this.
2. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna.
I just did a small little decrescendo and crescendo here. By the way, if any of you know on a PC how to zoom in and zoom out really quick, I would love to know. Just if any of you know in the live chat, let me know. I used to do that on my Mac live streams, but I haven't quite figured that out yet, because I would love to just like zoom in and show you something, because I'm streaming at 1080p, or it's at 2K. You're seeing it at 1080p if you're on the highest setting on YouTube, but I'm streaming at very high quality, so I should be able to zoom in. You guys should see everything really, really well. But what I don't want to do is, you see that thing? You know, it's like 1,000 keystrokes. Let's not do that. I love that tip. If any tech gurus out there know. Anyway, let's answer some questions. There's a lot of questions. I will answer what I can. Peter says, I believe you and I use the same Axiom. Yes, I think we do. We both have an Axiom 49. This beautifulness here, my favorite MIDI controller of all time, discontinued. So sorry for those of you who want one. I've been using this for 10 years, and it's just the best thing ever. I love everything about it, and it's pretty cheap. You can find them on eBay, like $200. Peter, how much did you get yours on eBay recently? Like $200, right? Something like that. That was a steal. These used to be so expensive. Anyway, have you noticed doubled MIDI notes? The note value you're playing? Yeah. Yes, Peter, that's a Cubase thing. Make sure that in your routing of your workspace, I think it's workspace, somewhere in here, maybe it's studio. One of these option thingies, MIDI device manager. think that's it. Somewhere in there, you need to, I don't want to break my machine while we're streaming, but somewhere in there, $80. Holy God. That's insane, Peter. Oh my gosh, that just makes me like faint. Wow. There you go, guys. You can get one of these for $80, I guess, if you fight for it on eBay. They're totally worth it. Love this thing. I might need another one because my mod wheel's sticky. Or I need to like take it out and fix it. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, if you want to get rid of those MIDI clickety things, what's happening is your Axiom is routed to Cubase twice. You need to make sure somewhere in there it's receiving 2 ports, and that's why it's doubling on top of itself. I had that problem a while ago. I had to fix it. I wish I knew like the exact method, but it's a Cubase option with MIDI. Hey Les, no worries. Come back and watch the rest of the stream. I hope these are valuable for you. And by the way, everybody watching this live right now, I'm not sure if you knew this, but YouTube algorithm is very, very picky about what you guys do after the stream re-uploads. So in order to help me get these streams to more people, and more importantly, even to my subscribers, people who can't join right now, make sure you just take 1 second. I have a very fast internet here. Like as soon as I hit that in stream button, this video is uploaded within a minute. If you just take a second, hit that like button. You can hit it now. It's not as valuable, but once this video uploads, you can hit that like button, and then all of a sudden YouTube is like blasts it to all my subscribers. So please do that, or leave a comment or something, like engage with it.
Many of us.
And it just does miraculous things on YouTube. Anyway, let's do the euphoniums again. Not again, but let's quantize them. Dang, I'm running out of time. I've got like 10 minutes left and I gotta wrap this party up, but let's do it.
2.
Maybe I'll push a little bit longer, but it depends on how nice you guys are.
2. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very...
Did anyone ever watch that show, Touch? It had 24 guy from 24, Kiefer, and that little boy who had like magic powers when he touched people. Yeah, it was a Wendy Carlos and the other lady composer. Anyway, that was totally their chord progression for the main theme. That's why it's in my mind. It's the, for those of you who watched it, you know what I'm talking about. That was the chord progression. So I'm totally stealing it because it works. You can't copyright a chord progression.
To succeed, we might, but we end up feeling compromised.
And hey, thanks for letting me know you're here, Sirlon and Banjo. Glad you're here.
About how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said,
all right, let's move on. I can polish that a little bit more later. I like where we're headed. So let's just watch a second.
Terrence McKenna once said, I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool.
Oh, because they do this cool little art picture, this illustration, I think that's gonna be the thumbnail for the for this video anyway. So I want to like represent that because they have a resident artist who does all the stuff. So I want to do like a high piano thing. I like that part. Wrong genre. But I kind of like the, like literally just those notes. So I'm not overly complicated with harmony.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool." If your definition of being cool is causing you to desperately seek the approval of...
I like this idea of doing the metric time stretching again, where it feels like halftime, because this whole track is at 80 beats per minute, but I've created an optical illusion, an aural illusion that it's actually at 160 with all the fast strings and stuff. But the intro, if you remember, was at 80. So I kind of like this idea of kind of pumping the brakes, switching, and it feels like it's, you know, this different tempo, but it really isn't.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know."
Yeah, let's do it. It's like let it hang for a minute.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool." If your definition of being cool is causing you to desperately seek the approval of people who don't even respect you, then you need a new definition of cool.
Feel how that it matches the vibe, like the pace of his talk now. So I just want to do a 3-chord structure here where it's G sharp minor, 2 bars, E major, same ostinato, and then back to the E flat minor or D sharp minor, which is the minor 3 chord. Using a little bit of a 2 harmony. It's called a secondary, or is that what you call it? A secundal? Ugh, getting really fancy now. Secundal harmony. So it's the equivalent of tertiary harmony, which is thirds, or quartal harmony, which is 4. This is like seconds. They're all seconds. That. I'm very influenced by Ravel and Debussy, French composers of the 1800s. My orchestral music especially. That's part of my DNA as a composer. So that's not a lot of people use that secundal harmony, but it's my thing.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool." If your definition of being cool is causing you to desperately seek the approval of people who don't even respect you, then you need a new definition of cool right away. Because you don't need any cool people in your life. If that means putting up with unnecessary drama, toxic behavior, and other forms of nonsense that don't add value to your experience. There's a saying for that too. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you should only hang out with people.
There it is. I was 1 measure off, but that works. Now, I don't like the final little bit I did. I like the chord choice. I want to keep the same. Come on, that's how you score that face. It's like illumination, education.
value to your experience. There's a saying for that too. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you should only hang out with people who...
Nice. Excellent.
...to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said...
It's so artistic. I like that. So for anyone that says, "Oh, writing movie trailer music isn't creative," I completely disagree. There are always moments that you can find a little sliver of light, get it in there. Because the intensity is only as intense. The intense moments are only as intense as the soft moments are soft. So if I make these little moments that are, frill, I guess, like these little, these chill moments, it makes the big moments feel bigger.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know."
Now I do need to do something else in the background. It can't just be piano, but probably, let's see if I can. Just like do some chill strings in the background.
What it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, "I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool." If your definition of being cool is causing you to desperately seek the approval of people who don't even...
It's a very filmic type sound. Let me turn the video off. Not the video, but the music. The VO audio off so that we can do this. Gotta ride that mod wheel. Back to the E. Change the voicing. And then the D flat major. Lovely. Okay. I'm a fan. Sign me up. Okay. And to help with this mood, we're also going to use the soft gravity pad. We're going to do like an octave higher. That way it kind of flutes. Yeah, be careful with this kind of patch. Not to overdo it. There we are. It's good voicing. Kind of sucks you in, doesn't it? It's like sad, but hopeful. We'll add some more elements here to beef it up. And then we'll hang it down. C sharp major. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm not going to quantize those because they're too warbly. They don't really need quantizing, but I'm going to do this thing again. So let's mimic that piano line, which by the way is not quantized. Ya-da-dum-bum-bum. Ah, move. Mufasa. By the way, that horn is just doused in reverb and it's lovely. Super EQ'd, see that? And then I have its own reverb. 40% of a wet, 40% wet in a hull. Just to give it some space. What's up, Squeesh? Hello. Quantize me. Gross, that quantizing made it worse. Chugga 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 chugga. The chuggas are coming. They're coming to get you. Watch out for the chuggas. Ooh, I like that. Gotta get the chuggas back in after that build. It's kind of a big build because it's half the pace. Oh, not even on a track. Chugga, 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 chugga. By the way, these strings are the bomb.com. If you ever need some good strings, just short strings, this is the cheapest thing on the market / the best. Adagietto strings by 8Dio. It's like 5 patches, but each one is the bomb. I use them all the time. I've used more expensive libraries and I don't like them. These are the ones. Go get them. The end. I'm not even sponsored by them, so just take that for granted. Just it creates such a cool energy. You can see by his hand motions, he's getting serious now. The pace has increased. Enter horn line. I mean, this is like textbook, but it works. I've done enough movie trailers now to kind of know the formula. There's still plenty of room to be creative. It's textbook for a reason. Because it sells. People like this stuff. I'm too lazy to create a second delay, and because I got the piano chops, I'm just gonna play it. 30-second notes. I don't recommend that for people unless you can actually do it. But I can do it, so why not? Makes it more musical if you can actually do it. You got it the second go around, not the first. Don't do that. There we go. Cool. Yeah, make sure they all line up. And they do. Cool. And I'll do the same thing with I'll add the short woodwinds in. It's simple, but it works. And these are just 8th notes with 16th note delay on them. Just kidding, 16th note with 16th note delay, which makes it 30-second notes. So you don't actually have to play all those notes. I have my piano right here, lower, bum, bum. And for that, we just keep the loop going as long as we can handle it, as long as it works. Why are we not? Oh, these are not quantized. So when I chop, it doesn't like it. There we go. There's a good chop. Choppy chop. I'm chopping the notes. I make cheesy dad music jokes all day, every day. No shame. I used to have a music bookmark from my piano teacher, like middle school years. It said chopping list. It's like a lot of sticky notes, you know, like shopping list, but Chopin. Not funny. Let's get that bass up in her. What I like to do with bass is change the octave to keep it fresh. So I'm going to do G sharp to high E, G sharp to low E, to keep it feeling like a four chord progression when it's only 2. Continue doing that for a little while. I do need to quantize that so it's a clean cut for copy paste. Let's just keep that going for a little while, at least for this section. And there's so much you can do on top of that. And as I was kind of joking before, that's a great spot for a horn line. It's like the one thing we haven't used yet, and horns are so powerful that you really only want to bring them out in small amounts unless you're really trying to go pretty heavy with the intensity. And we're kind of at that point where we can, because it's the halfway point, a little over halfway of the score, and he's really starting to get fired up. He's going to talk louder, he's going to move more, so it makes more sense that the music builds with him, especially after that slow section. double it. Da, 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 da. So we're gonna double that with the strings. 1 octave higher. Give some beef. Okay. Let's see if woodwind doubling will help. Sure does. Cool. I'll probably do the same thing with my cymbals. Probably use another dose of those. Could probably use some, oops. Probably use the hit right there as well, just to give it some more oomph. Let's play that section with the VO.
Not
I'm gonna turn the music down a little bit so we can hear it in context.
where you're tolerated. No, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you should only hang out with people who stroke your ego and tell you that you're beautiful and brilliant every single time they see you. You need friends who support your dreams, but you also need friends who challenge you to step up your game. You can't afford to surround yourself with people who don't give you the honest feedback you need to become a better version of yourself. A true friend will not only celebrate your presence, but they'll also criticize your performance. A true friend will encourage you to follow your dreams, but they'll also challenge you to take personal responsibility for the results that you say you want to create. So when I say find a different they, I don't mean
That's good.
you say.
It's like that's the main theme. I think that's a good spot to put the euphoniums back in. One more. Because he's still fired up here. Wait till him to die down a little bit. Right here. Then, oh, look at that. Boom. And then we have about 1 minute left of the whole thing. So that is where we're going to go back to the A section. Let me get my euphoniums locked in there. And of course, we can do some kind of transition moment there, maybe with a horn or something. But for simplicity, I'd like to go back to the A section. Right there. So we're going to do a chop of every non-movie item, which I suppose will include symbols. There we go. What I want to do is, want to copy and paste. Quick way to do that is just to click and slide like that. Drag it all over. And where I have that A, oh, I made a mistake. Darn. I need to click here. Just give me a sec to figure this out. There we go. Okay, all of that needs to be copied over to this new A prime section, which is where the little feet moment happened. It's going to start right here, and there, we're done. Just need to clean it up. And look, it's like exactly like the intro. So we're going to take this symbol swell, of course, to help transition. Give it 2 bars. Yeah, 2 bars, and let's fill it out with the VO.
Be friends with you and start seeking out relationships with people who value your potential. I'll be the first to admit, if you build your friendships this way, it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of patience, because sometimes you'll have to be willing to walk alone before you get the chance to walk alongside those who are committed to building you up. And that can feel lonely sometimes. But when you have,
let me scrub so you can feel it out.
At least convictions. No amount of friends can keep you happy if you have to sacrifice your self-respect and your sense of purpose in order than to be cool. Sacrifice your self-respect and your sense of purpose in order to keep them around. It's fun being liked, but it's much more fulfilling when it's the real you they like.
There it is.
So if you ever have to choose, it's better to be cool with your goals than to be cool in the eyes of those who don't even respect you. And if you can practice that mindset long enough and stick with it, you'll eventually become way too valuable to go for too
Great chord change.
long without making good friends. So, the next time you find yourself saying, they never support me, or they never listen to me, or they don't want to see me succeed, I want you to replace those words with the following. From now on, I choose to surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
Oh my gosh, that worked out perfectly. So what I want to do is chop off all of that extra. Looks like it's all working out perfect. Take the end. I want to change sections, but the logo is going to hit right around there. So what I want to do is extend this by 1 more bar. And we're done, guys. What a cool thing. So 1 more bar of the sustained material to help fill this out. Okay.
To push me towards the person I need to become.
Oh, I love that.
To push me toward.
We'll do like a big crescendo.
Surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
You see how that fade to black is almost exact. Heck yeah. So the only thing I have to fix is to do some kind of major chord at the end. I like that. I'm gonna get rid of the E flat, so it's not so muddy. But now it's exactly on the beat. Everything connects. All I need is a symbol. Copy and paste what we got from the other sections. So guys, this is how you write long form music without creating new material. There's no need to stop writing so much. You're creating more work that you need to.
For who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
Excellent. I'm just gonna get rid of that sustain pedal. Cool. The only thing missing is a horn, something or other. I mean, we just did the.
To replace those words with the following. From now on,
Oh no.
I choose to surround myself.
Somehow I deleted. X. Very
Important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own. The next time you find yourself saying, they never support me, or they never listen to me, or they don't want to see me surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
There it is. There was some kind of weird pedal hang somewhere. I'll go find it later, but I think it was that.
Surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
There it is. That's it, guys. That's it. That's how you score 5 minutes in like 2 hours. That's how you do it. You simplify your material. You duplicate where necessary. Stop overwriting.
I want you to replace those words with the following. From now on, I choose to surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.
Awesome. That's it, guys. Sweet. So I definitely have a little bit of polishing to do, but not much. Like a little bit of connection material, but this is like 95% done. So what I'm going to do, I got to go. But I appreciate you guys hanging out for the length of this. I definitely went a bit longer, but and to answer Peter at the end there, he said, it's almost been an hour and a half today. Cool. Yesterday I was reading about speed in your book, so I thought I'd throw out there how long it's been. Yeah, this was an hour and a half stream, and plus yesterday's 40 minutes, you know, it's about 2 hours and change, plus maybe 20 more minutes of just small edits to make it really, really solid. And of course, to mix without my headphones on. I like to use my monitors and just make sure the levels are right and whatever. That's basically it, guys. That's how you do this stuff really fast. And a little pro tip. Producers and directors will pay you a lot to write a lot of music. But that's just how the gig goes. I'm really only writing like 2 minutes of music here, maybe 1.5 minutes of music, and I'm just duplicating a bunch. I'm music editing. I'm getting paid to do both, and it works out really well. So anyway, I gotta run, but I'm gonna play everything that we have so far. When you see the final episode up on YouTube at the Revolution of One YouTube channel, make sure you check it out. It's in the description below. You can watch all the episodes that I've scored up to this point. I think this is number 7. I think this is episode 7. But yeah, the idea here is that, you know, I'm going to play through the rest of it, but you'll hear it in its final mixed and mastered form at the final video, and the final video will look way nicer than this. It's like the rough cut. And they're going to maybe make a few tighter edits to fit my music a little bit better and that kind of thing. But anyway, hope this was fun, and let's play through it, and you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, they never support me, or they never listen to me, they never want to see me succeed. If you have, then maybe it's time you found a different they. You've probably already heard all the usual sayings about the value of the company you keep. My personal favorite is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's a similar one that says, if you show me your friends, I will show you your future. You get the drift. If you want to live freely, then you've got to surround yourself with people who lift you up. But quoting cliches about keeping good company, that's the easy part. The hard part is actually living it. Why do we find it so difficult to consistently surround ourselves with the right kinds of people? I've got several theories, but here's one of them. When it comes to picking friends, many of us have been conditioned to look around for the cool kids. Now, I define the cool kids as anyone at any age or any stage who seems to offer us the greatest amount of social status. These are the kind of people who, if you can get them to talk to you, if you can get them to spend time with you, then everybody else will see you hanging out with them and they will think you're cool too. So we work real hard to try to get the cool kids to accept us, and even if they treat us poorly, we put up with it because, hey, that's the price for being cool, right? And if we manage to succeed, we might look cool on the outside, but we end up feeling compromised on the inside. And that brings us to a very important lesson about how you choose to define what it means to be cool in your own life. Terrence McKenna once said, I don't know if I'm cool or not, but I'm incredibly resistant to anyone else's efforts to make me feel uncool. If your definition of being cool is causing you to desperately seek the approval of people who don't even respect you, then you need a new definition of cool right away. Because you don't need any cool people in your life if that means putting up with unnecessary drama, toxic behavior, and other forms of nonsense that don't add value to your experience. There's a saying for that too. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you should only hang out with people who stroke your ego and tell you that you're beautiful and brilliant every single time they see you. You need friends who support your dreams, but you also need friends who challenge you to step up your game. You can't afford to surround yourself with people who don't give you the honest feedback you need to become a better version of yourself. A true friend will not only celebrate your presence, but they'll also criticize your performance. A true friend will encourage you to follow your dreams, but they'll also challenge you to take personal responsibility for the results that you say you want to create. So when I say find a different they, I don't mean run the other way every time someone has something critical to say. I mean stop begging people to be friends with you and start seeking out relationships with people who value your potential. I'll be the first to admit, if you build your friendships this way, it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of patience, because sometimes you'll have to be willing to walk alone before you get the chance to walk alongside those who are committed to building you up. And that can feel lonely sometimes. But when you have those moments, remember this: there is at least one form of loneliness that's much, much worse than the loneliness that comes from having no friends. And that's the kind of loneliness that results from not having any convictions. No amount of friends can keep you happy if you have to sacrifice your self-respect and your sense of purpose in order to keep them around. It's fun being liked, but it's much more fulfilling when it's the real you they like. So if you ever have to choose, it's better to be cool with your goals than to be cool in the eyes of those who don't even respect you. And if you can practice that mindset long enough and stick with it, you'll eventually become way too valuable to go for too long without making good friends. So, the next time you find yourself saying, they never support me, or they never listen to me, or they don't want to see me succeed, I want you to replace those words with the following. From now on, I choose to surround myself with people who not only accept me for who I am, but who respect me enough to push me towards the person I need to become.